What's good, y'all? It's Sai back from the OFC podcast, and today we're doing gaming. I got Sauce with me.
Hey yo.
I got Ellie,
You're
and I have Snow.
Yes, sir.
And the first thing we want to talk about is the New World beta. Now, I didn't play the New World beta, but I believe everybody else here did. And Ellie, you were super big on it in the beginning. Did you feel the same way at the end?
nah.
It's
Nah.
not the beta, by
He
the way.
said,
But yeah.
nah.
It's not the beta. Nah, I played
It's
the
the whole
beta,
game?
and
Yeah, the whole
it's a
game's
whole
out.
game now. Yeah.
I thought you
I'm gonna
guys
be
were
really
talking about a beta the way. Oh,
Nah.
man.
Nah, dude.
Nah. It feels like we're in the alpha right now. Imagine.
Oh, man.
To be honest, it's amazing what a multi-million-dollar company can do, and how they can try to project their ambitions in a certain way. But I just feel like they really couldn't execute, and they gave us, like, how do I say this? The way New World is, like the state of New World right now, is okay. So let's say that you have this bug, right? And this bug has been pestering and messing up let's say, the market. I mean, the economy, just like the whole feel, like the gameplay experience of the game, and just everything in general, right? And then suddenly you try to fix it, but then you add three more bugs that cause the same issue and just keeps on messing the game up. So, like, there's really no solution to what's going on. It feels like Warzone, but MMO, you know? Every time there's a new bug in Warzone, oh, you can clip through the floor and you can see everybody and stuff like that. Then next you fix that, then you got the stim glitch where you can just run around and not die, you know? It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. No, wait a minute. Not a multi-million-dollar company. We're about to hit the trillions, right?
Yeah.
Imagine.
I was going to say.
Imagine. And they have, oh my god,
Yeah.
my god, it hurts.
It's weird, right? Like I was hesitant because I watched the gameplay during the beta and I was like, this doesn't actually look very fun. And they made a bunch of changes before the release of the game, which probably is in large part why the game feels like it feels unfinished right now. I don't think it feels like a complete game by any means. There's a lot missing that feels like it should be there. There's a lot of weird choices they made for like dungeons and things like that. Like the only real excuse to run with a party is like their dungeon system, but you have to build like an orb through mats to like even get in there. It's stupid. It's really dumb. Like why would you gate people running content with each other into that? The game has a focus on PvP, but even the way they implemented faction versus faction PvP is pretty shit. Controlling zones is good in theory, and then you realize that it's going to cost whatever group controls the zone so much money to even keep the zone because of the taxes they have to pay, that they have to raise the taxes on all the people who are playing. So that sucks. Like, and it includes property tax. So you could fucking buy your house in some town and then some other, company will take over and just run that shit up super high. It's dumb. Like there's so much weird implementation of things that just doesn't make sense. It puts money at a premium, but then it's so hard to make money because it's at such a premium. I don't know. It's so strange how they've built their game. Like I don't know if you saw recently there was an article about how people are going to the barter system at this point because you can't really use the market board.
Yep.
Yeah.
So people are just like bartering resources between each other so they don't spend gold. And there's no real way to make it because none of the items that you make are really worth it beyond like bags. And even then the bag market is getting flooded because it's the only market. Like it's just the game is it's in desperate need of somebody who actually knows MMOs to take over and try to help them. And it feels like nobody on their team understands how an MMO works.
I'm gonna be really honest with you. Like you talked about the whole, they could have done much more to implement it. Like this is a game that should have been like, we've seen many games come out as this before, right? Remember the recent term, well, not recent, it's been like here for 4 or 5 years, early access. They should have just gone by that.
Yeah.
And they should have just kept that early access thing going on and on throughout. They can actually establish a fully functioning game and then sell that shit for $60 or for subscription or whatever. Like you just can't act and say, "Oh, we're gonna release the full game right here for $40," and then you guys just have to deal with it. It shouldn't be like that, you know. Like we've
Yeah.
already seen like the amount of games that we've seen already going through this type of process, even though they're not from the same genre. We got Cyberpunk. I'd even say Warzone to a certain extent. We got so many games that go through this like this trial and error process during live, like like during what's the term? Let's say prime time. Let's say lifetime, right? Like
Full release, basically.
yeah, it shouldn't
Yeah.
be like this, man. Just even though it sounds dumb, just put the early access sticker on it.
The
Tarkov is still an early access game to this day, and it's been for like 4 or 5 years. And people play that shit like it's a fucking fresh new game. But they still have the early access token, so they gotta kind of go by that little bullshit excuse. Why, Amazon? Why?
they're money hungry. Like that's part of the problem with video game society. We as consumers want things right here, right now. We don't have the
Mhm.
patience to wait for a fully developed game. We want a fully developed game, but we don't have the patience to wait for one. And so you have businesses that will like meet deadlines or like even advanced deadlines if they're not ready and push a game out before it's fully developed. And like you were saying, like there are so many bugs in New World. There's the one where players can become invincible. The market board is absolute garbage. Um, the one that makes players invincible, from what I understand, it would take a complete recode of the game to fix it, and nobody's going to do that.
Actually, no, they fixed it. Thank God.
Oh, did they? That's good. At least.
Yeah, but then
I
after
mean,
check it out. After they fixed that one, there was one little exploit with the fucking life staff. So whenever you're in the healing circle, you can just spam crouch, and your life just starts going up. You get more ticks the more you spam crouch. So you're
so
basically invincible again.
this is my issue though, like especially when you start talking about the consumers being impatient, like as consumers we're definitely impatient. We want things at their deadline. You make the deadline, you should meet it kind of idea. But in Amazon's case, I don't feel that way about New World. New
No.
World's hype was very orchestrated. They
Mhm.
bought their hype, right? They paid all
Yeah.
these streamers to play their game and have all these drops, so you had people that were going to tune in. Like they built their hype via their own platform in Twitch TV. It's all manufactured, it's built. So
Exactly.
you could have put that game on the shelf again for another year because nobody was checking for it. Like we wanted it, we wanted to see it, sure, but you could have put it on the shelf. Who cares? The hype was manufactured. They put themselves into this, oh, we have to make the deadline bullshit by manufacturing a hype via streaming and then screwed themselves because their game isn't worth playing. And the minute all the drops were done and you could get away from having to play all these games for drops, a bunch of those streamers have moved on. Like they were clearly getting paid. They're clearly
Exactly.
still paying people to play it. So why would you do this? Like why would you not put the game on the shelf if you're going to try this? It's just so stupid. Now everybody knows what's going wrong with this game.
Well,
I don't
if
know.
you remember, this is the second game that Amazon's tried to put out that was a massive failure. They had one that was what, a MOBA or like Valorant or like Apex and those types of games. They had one of those and it failed miserably. They took it offline.
Oh, which one was
Oh
that? I'm kind
right.
of curious.
Damn, what was that
What was
game?
that game called?
No, I want
Okay,
to check that out.
Lost? No, not Lost Ark. That's
Oh
the
wait,
one.
Lost Ark is coming soon. Coming
Yeah.
very soon. But I understand why they pushed it back because of the whole New World hype. But I would have
Oh,
rather have
Crucible?
them. Was it that? Let's see,
Was it
Amazon
Crucible?
games.
Crucible.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I did hear about that
Yeah, I think I remember seeing
being
it.
really
They've
bad.
actually had four. Wait, they had 9 games from Amazon Studios.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
It's such a big company. It's a company that could have afforded to put the game on the shelf, and
Mhm.
instead of doing that, they forced it.
Yep.
And all of the people, I feel like all the people playing it are just waiting for whatever's the next thing they're gonna play, whatever's the next MMO. Like in my case, I just wanted something to hold me over until Endwalker drops. Right? Like
Exactly.
I have no
Same.
interest in New World right now, and I spent probably like 2 weekends playing the shit out of it. I'll probably not pick it up unless somebody comes back and says they drastically changed it, and I'll just start again.
I got 227 hours, but I'm gonna be really honest with you. Even
Sheesh.
though it has all these bugs and all these fucking things, I still kind of enjoy the game. I actually like mindlessly farming. I don't know if it's probably my ADHD or whatever, or I don't know. I just like, dude, I even have fun knowing that my storage is full in one town and I have to move shit from there to another town, even though it's not like from my faction, just so I can have some space where I usually craft my stuff. And it has some things. The fact that there's no mounts is kind of annoying sometimes, but then I think about it like really, like what's the if that's the case, just make fast travel free or whatever, right?
They're gonna
I
put
don't,
mounts in anyways, though.
yeah, like I still kind of enjoy like these guys got the base for what could be an amazing MMO in the future. Like this whole territory type of thing, faction type of thing, I love it. I really do. But it's just not put right.
Yeah.
Like what I've heard from other people and stuff. I don't know if it's true or not, but the reason the game got pushed this way was because of investors.
I'm sure.
I believe it.
So it kind of makes sense that so we're gonna push Lost Ark all the way to December or to next year. I don't remember what date is actually gonna come out, and let's just focus on this. By doing this, I feel like they should have gone the other way around. Lost Ark is a game that's already been out for years. They're just porting it to the to the United States, so, to the West is the best way to put it. They could have just gone for that. It's an amazing game, free to play too. You get more people, you get more views. People are gonna put money on it because they're gonna fucking love that shit. It's an action RPG, and they could
Yeah,
have
I
just
mean, I'm
kept
gonna
New
pick it up.
World. Yeah, they could have kept New World through a beta process. Like, fine, you paid the $40. It's close because you got to pay for it, and then you can just try the game out. This could have been a whole trial period for the fucking game, and probably all these bugs would have been fixed by then.
Yeah.
At least the ones that are coming in now. But again, the game still has a lot of things that just I don't know, man. It's a perfect base. This is why I'm waiting for Ashes of Creation, because it's all like almost all the things that have been implemented into New World are kind of like what Ashes of Creation are gonna do. So we'll see.
It seems like sometimes these companies they're so in a rush to promote the game that they forget like we have to make a good game, or we have to at
Yes.
least make the base of a good game so that we can add on to it. Because like a lot of people have the complaint where okay, back in the day, games didn't have patches, and a lot of games were still good even though they never had patches. But people never bring up the fact that a lot of those games are horrible. A lot of the games that came out at that time were really bad, and they never got fixed. So
Right.
I'm not super mad at you releasing a game that needs some type of work, but it has to be playable and fun in the current state.
Agreed.
Yeah, once you start asking for money, you have to present me with a product that's worth paying for, in my opinion. Like,
Exactly.
unless part of it is you are a small company, and I think this is really important because we talked about early access. Unless you're a small company that absolutely needs the funding and the success of the game to be able to work on it, which is the case for some of the games in early access, that I accept. Like, you can give me that, just don't quit on your game as it's out, which happens occasionally. But if that's what you need, if you need the money, that's what early access is supposed to be for. You're supposed to be able to get the funds so that you can focus on making your game better. And a lot of games take advantage of that and do that. But it doesn't, like, in my time spent in New World, no part of me feels like they took that into consideration. Like, you're talking about Amazon. There's no other company you could have behind a video game and have more money involved. Amazon can afford it, whatever it takes, right? So why is everything so slow? Why have you taken this long to fix any of these fucking issues? It's insane.
Why in the year 2021 you're still using a forum to get your information out?
Insanity. It's absolute insanity. I don't know. It's just, I'm fine probably not picking that game up again. The only thing that I did like about it, and I agree with you, it has a really good base. The farming is so relaxing. It is
Dude, I
very,
love
very
it.
chill to just run around and smack trees and hit rocks and all that shit.
Even the
Um,
fishing is good.
yeah, fishing's great. It's fun. That part of the game is fun. The combat leaves something to be desired to me. I like the
Mhm.
idea of like switching weapons and being able to level all your weapons independently. That's cool, but the combat's not that great. Especially running instances and stuff. That shit sucks, dude. That is not fun. It's not organized. It just feels like you bum rush shit
No,
repeatedly and hope
no,
for the
dude.
best.
PvP
It's
is the
ass.
same thing. PvP is
Yeah,
the same thing.
it feels bad. It's ass, dude. It's it's not
It's
good.
fun. It's not fun. Like if you have I can understand grit, which like for like a small period of time it makes you invulnerable. But if you run Hatchet, right, you run Berserker, you get no CC throughout that time that you have that running. That's 12 seconds,
Right.
right? A fight normally like a decent fight will last you around 10 to 15 seconds. But for those 12 seconds, you're just getting hammered by a fucking hatchet.
Right.
And that's not the funny part. When you bring him to to the point to to the brink of death, he has 3 seconds of invincibility.
Yeah,
Well,
I
he's
mean, Hatch is
invulnerable.
crazy.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and no, that's the thing. I'm not done. There's a actually right now. There's a exploit. Well, not exploit. There's a fucked up perk. I don't know if it's in the tree or it's like on one of the hatches or whatever. Or like on the hatch in general. The hatchet in general. I'm sorry. You can do up to like 3k damage off a couple swings. So if normally when you fight somebody you're only doing 500, 600, you're gonna basically triple, double that, whatever, quadruple that, and just basically melt people. So you can't get CC'd. You can just spam the fucking hatchet. Your attack speed goes up when you have the berserker thing. It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun. I don't know. They could have done more. I don't know. It just feels weird. I hate games that just go around the meta. Like you could do something to make, like, especially being an MMO, you could do something that just makes it not be meta and just have everything balanced. But again, I don't know. I'm playing an alpha. I can't really say much. It's horrible.
And speaking of, I guess, alphas and pre-release in general, the Battlefield beta just came out. Well, it's done now.
Well,
I'm pretty
it's yeah.
not just came out, but this is our first time talking about it. Sauce, you played it. Ellie, you played it. Snow, did you play it?
No, I haven't.
I didn't play it
Okay.
either.
Oh shit! All right,
Tell me
Ellie,
I'm
you
one.
got to report in. Tell us,
Uh,
is it the base of a good game? Is there a good game in there? How good does it feel?
I mean, it's fun. It was fun. It's very like the fact that you can just play Battlefield with modern guns again. I think is the best thing that happened in years. You know, there's so much World War One and World War Two you can take, right? And I really enjoyed it. It was like the vehicles was kind of fun. I'm never trying to drive a jet ever again. Well, fly a jet in my life because that is just it's impossible with mouse and keyboard. I don't know how people do it, but it was great. Like I would say that the destruction like for the environment was kind of lackluster compared to previous games. Like you can be inside of a house, right? And the way you can demolish it was just amazing. But whenever you were doing it like in Battlefield, like the new Battlefield, right? It just felt weird. It felt like that wall was supposed to break that way. Like you couldn't break it any other way. So let's say if you were to punch, how can I explain it? If you were to punch a hole through your door, right? If you were to hit anywhere around a certain area, it's still gonna break the same way, right?
Uh,
Like
it's
there
like
was
canned animations almost.
yeah. You remember cartoons like when you would know, I don't know if you guys ever noticed this, but you would know something was gonna move if the color was very different to how everything, like if it was a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically that. That's how it feels. But
So it's
combat,
like certain parts of the environment
yeah,
are meant to be interacted with, and other parts are not really meant to be interacted with. Type
yeah,
deal.
dude. Like you played the like even the Battlefield, I think it was Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 1. You can
I
drive
played
a tank
Battlefield.
through a house and it just felt good because you were actually destroying the shit. If you were to destroy it enough, the whole thing was gonna come down, you know? Like you can
Right.
see
Mhm.
it. Over here, it doesn't feel like that. Also, there were enough buildings to justify, like, you know, to try to prove that my point. But it was fun. The guns being able to change them up, like put the silencer if you want to, different scopes and all that on the fly. Amazing. Way better than a loadout system. And the guns felt nice. Like the gunplay, everything was good. Snipers felt amazing. It was a really great, like it was a really great experience, but it just depends on what you like at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah. Do you know when the full game drops?
Huh. Let me see. I actually never checked. I don't know if they pushed it back though. Let's see. But to be honest, if
Uh,
it's your first time
it's supposed to
playing,
release this year, apparently, still.
yeah, but
Huh?
wait a minute. Is it out already? I don't know.
No, it's not out.
But going back to
It
what I
just
was gonna
says
say.
2022. I don't think they have a specified release
Oh
date. At
no,
least
they
that's what a
did
quick Google
that.
search told me. Yeah, or 2021. I mean, not 2022.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really find it here. That is very strange. I thought it was supposed to come out in October. It's supposed to compete with Call of Duty. It was weird. Anyways, if you
Yeah.
haven't played not an MMO, I'm sorry, a first person shooter in a long time, this is probably the game for you. I'm gonna be really
Where
honest. It just feels really amazing. I just hate that, you know, you're just tied into like the four people you get squatted up with. I don't know if it's 4 or 5. I don't remember the exact amount. Like, for example, if you play games like Sauce, you know about Squad, right?
Squad? No.
Okay, so it's basically this. It's like a battlefield simulator, but you have a whole bunch of people. You have like different ways of communicating and stuff.
Okay.
But over here, you just side to 4 people and you just run around and shoot, go to the objectives and all that. I don't know. Like, I feel like they could do more for the battle, like not the battlefield, but the battlefield type of simulation. So like Modern War and all that stuff. Like have like separate checkpoints, radios, have somebody be commanding the shit. I don't know. I guess I'm used to seeing so many games, so many different things. Like I feel like I see shit like this, and it's like, that's another one of those. But it's fun.
That's cool.
Oh, it comes
And
out on November 19th.
that makes sense. Holiday release. Because
Yeah.
Call of Duty is coming out when? Next week? A week after that?
That's a
I think
bad
so.
release date. November 19th. That's early access and Walker.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
it
Let's
is.
there's
go.
so much. There's so much coming out this season. I love it. I think Call of Duty's next week.
Yeah, I think it's either this week or next week. I think it's not
It's
this coming up Friday, the 5th, I think it is, but the Friday after that.
the 5th. Yep, the 5th.
Yeah.
So that's
Oh, it
gonna
is
be
coming out on the
another
5th?
thing too. Yeah, so that's gonna be another
That's how
thing too.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I guess in terms of betas, the one thing I want to talk about before we get into Final Fantasy 14 is so Melty Blood Type Lumina came out 2 weeks ago,
mm,
and it's a really cool game, but I feel like fighting games are like 10 years behind every other genre of game in terms of content, in terms of single player content, in terms of UI, in terms of online experience specifically. So like Guilty Gear is a game I've been playing a lot since it came out in like June. I think the game is like 5 months old at this point.
right.
And Guilty Gear had a long ass beta session going back to New World. It came out like the first beta came out in 2019. It was really bad and nobody liked it. And then they had 2 more betas earlier this year in 2021 in February and May that were super good, and they just kept fixing things that people wanted fixed. They wanted certain they like in the first beta there was a glitch or like just a general design decision where it was really hard to anti-air characters, so people were just jumping all the time. And nobody
Right.
wants to play a fighting game where people are just like jumping and you can't do anything about it because it's an annoying position to be in.
Mhm.
And so they fixed anti-airs, and then they fixed the lobby system a little bit. But the point I'm getting at is Melty Blood had zero beta, no beta, nothing. And so the netcode ended up being kind of bad, even though they promised it to be like really good rollback netcode, which is just basically becoming the standard for fighting games these days.
Mhm.
It is rollback, but it's not implemented very well. So I think that game really could have used a beta test. And it's like lacking in content. So the single player mode is just a visual novel that you just literally click A through, and the online modes aren't very robust. There's just not a lot there in terms of game. Like you have to be a hardcore fighting game fan to want to play that game. And I just think in general, fighting games need to. There are just certain parts that like every other game will have that a fighting game won't. Like the menu is hard to understand. Like me and
Right.
Snow, we're gonna try to play, or we're gonna try to play Street Fighter Five in a couple hours here, and I don't know how to set up a match.
It's crazy.
I've set up matches like 7 times. I could not walk Snow through how to set up a player match because the menu is just so convoluted and stupid. It's like it's hidden in the corner. Like the only thing you do in fighting games is play against other people. Why is that the hardest part to find? Like, and there's
Hey,
a
man,
lot of just weird things like that in fighting games.
there's a
There's,
challenge you wanted, trying to get a game going.
I guess so. Yeah.
there's an interesting thing with fighting games as like an outsider.
Mhm.
It it's a strange genre because it caters to a very specific audience, and it doesn't really try to bring in new players. Like it's kind of why to me it's why Smash Brothers has such a huge impact on the community in general, right? Is because you can do more. It's more than a fighting game. You can pop it on with all your friends and have like 8 people in one game, and it's just reckless mayhem, and it's
Right.
fun. And then you can go
Yeah.
one on one and have a really competitive like fighting game in the middle of it, right? other fighting games, one, you run out of that situation because it's a duel. Almost no matter what, you're talking about a game where it's one on one, just you and one other person, and there's no other people involved. Maybe you have like tag-ins and stuff with other characters, but for the most part, it's still a one-on-one fight. So you're limited in trying to balance a bunch of characters if you have a huge group of characters to pick from, like Street Fighter, things like that. You're talking about sitting in a bad spot of trying to balance all these characters and make them all relevant. It's borderline impossible. Balance is the hardest thing in video games when it comes to PvP. It's the thing that people complain about and cry about all the time, and no game does it perfect, regardless of if they say they do or they don't.
Yep.
So you have to balance that. You have to just understand that like some characters are just gonna be bad, and that's okay. And I think Street Fighter does a decent job of being like, we have some characters that are just bad, like Dan. Like it is what
Dan
it
is
is.
just bad.
That's kind of the gimmick, right? That's the fun. And that's fine, but you have to acknowledge that you're going to do that. And then it's like, what kind of game modes can you have? Well, we could make like a tournament. We could have like random battles, and then we're out of shit. So you would think that they would focus on making the game as approachable as possible and having the UI be easy and very understandable.
Yeah,
and
having good tutorial modes, which, in fairness, Melty Blood and Guilty Gear both have tutorials. I think both of those are a really good game to pick up if you're looking to learn fighting games, because they teach you not just the basics of that game, but the basics of fighting games. And in general, what a lot of these new games are trying to do to become more accessible is simplifying the gameplay. Because like people always say, like when you ask somebody, oh, why don't you play fighting games? Oh, they're too hard. All these inputs, all these things. So Guilty Gear specifically has been toned down a lot in terms of its complicated mechanics and legacy mechanics in general. But the new player doesn't really care about that stuff as much as you think they do. And then the old guard just gets angry. So when Guilty Gear came out, a lot of old OG Guilty Gear players were just like, yo, this isn't Guilty Gear. Where is this, and this? Where are all these mechanics that I've spent the last 20 years honing and learning or whatever? And I think that's the one thing Melty Blood did a little bit better, is that they kept a lot of their core mechanics, but they just tweaked them a little bit to either be more powerful or less powerful, or easier to do, so that people could get into them a little bit more.
Yeah.
I just think that people need to make I think that fighting game companies need to make a more concerted effort to get the new player up to speed as to what's happening, and B, make a game that has you have to have good rollback netcode these days. You have to have Guilty Gear level netcode. And only like 3 fighting games, period, have Guilty Gear level netcode. B, you have to have a good tutorial. Both these games have a pretty good tutorial. That's fine. C, you have to have good UI every time. I have to be able to get into a match. I have to be able to make a lobby where 8 people can get in, at least. 8 people can get in, and every single person can be playing against somebody, and you can rotate. Like, there's just so many little things that every other game seems to have that no fighting game has all of them. And it's annoying.
I really find it, because here's the issue nowadays, like times we live in, it doesn't, at least for me, like I would like to play with all my friends. So all my friends is maybe more than 3 people, right? Fighting games does not give you that experience because like one person has to sit while you 2 are fighting, right?
Yeah.
Only exception is obviously Smash Bros. This people might hate what I'm going to say, but it's obviously a party game. It just turned into a competitive, fighting game because of the
community turned the game competitive. The intentions of the game aren't to be competitive.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of games.
A party game. So
yep.
Yeah, like Kirby is always going to be bad because Kirby is meant to be easy to control. He's slower because slower characters are easier to control. He has a lot of jumps because it's easier to control. But these don't make a good competitive character.
Right.
Whereas a character like Pikachu is a lot harder to control because he's fast and his recovery moves are weird, and he doesn't do a lot of damage like per hit, but he's the perfect competitive character because he has every tool that a competitive character would need. So they do a good job of mixing both in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, but they give, like, at least Smash Bros gives you the opportunity to be able to enjoy the game with your friends.
Yeah,
1v1s all the time is like okay, we're gonna do this again. Like, I don't know, like probably for you guys, like this is my experience. I don't know how much for you, side, but I just can't be fighting the same person for like 30 minutes. Like that's the most I can do because I'm probably gonna get bored. And especially if I'm getting my ass beat all the time because the other person is better than me or vice versa. Like it's not really that fun, At least for me. Like
Yeah, I think
there's not really much you can do unless you do like some what's the game? The Naruto games, like where I don't know if you can be able to join
like
your
the arena
friends.
fighters type of thing.
Yeah, Budokai
Those
3,
games are
but
meant to be more casual as well,
see, I
and they're
think the
like
Xenoverse
controls
as
and stuff.
well. Xenoverse as well, you
Yeah.
can like be two persons, like two different guys in one team fighting against other two people, right? Or no?
Yeah, you can.
So like, and the thing is like the camera looks kind of weird. Like it's not really that I don't know. It just feels uncomfortable when it comes to that like arena type of fighter that you're mentioning. But it's the only thing you can do with your friends. For competitive games, I just can't. I don't know. It's always going to be a solo experience, but it's still
Yeah,
it's still fun. And I
the
just
thing.
love watching those damn things.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
super fun to watch almost any
Hell
fighting
yeah.
game. But I think the reason that people don't want to play for like extended periods of time, especially when they're like getting beat up, is you don't even know why you're getting beat up if you don't know any fundamentals of a fighting game. Like you
Right.
could get hit with the same thing over and over again, and the game's not going to tell you. Like most of the time, the game doesn't tell you when you get hit by like an overhead. So you can get hit with the same overhead over and over again. You're like, I blocked that, but no, you didn't because it's an overhead. But how would you know?
Right.
Like, there's just so many like weird little things like that
That was
that
me
are just kind of
yesterday.
annoying.
That was me yesterday playing fucking League of Legends. I hate that game so much.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
me playing literally any other game. It's like, well, damn, I thought I shot him. I clicked his head.
No,
You
no,
didn't click his head. You
basically
can't
that,
fucking
but
aim.
nah, I got shit on so bad. When I watched the, like, dude, there's a level to like how mad one can get, especially in games that have like instant replay, like not instant replay, but you can go back and watch the footage. I got so mad,
Yeah,
I watched that shit and then just watch how fucking horribly I failed, and I was like, you know what?
That's that's a
I
game
wanted to
with.
blame. Yeah.
My bad. Sorry, I was just gonna say that in talking about games that give you a good tutorial or
Mhm.
give you like a good way to figure out what went wrong. League, I will give credit to, has a really great replay system that allows
Right.
you to do a lot of cool things, like see what the fog of war looked like. If you were like, how
Mhm.
the hell did this guy fucking know where I was? You can, click the fog of war, and then all of a sudden you'll see, oh, there's a fucking ward off in the distance that I totally didn't even see. No shit, I got killed. Like,
Right.
there's like you can use that replay system to actually figure out what happened to you and what you did wrong versus what you should have done, which I think is really nice. Whereas like there's a lot of other games where you can't even go back and watch what happened. You're just like, I
Yeah.
just got my ass beat. What happened? And
Yeah.
especially in fighting games cases where all of those inputs have names and you know exactly what they are. Like you can go into tutorial mode for like Mortal Kombat and see all the button inputs that you're putting in as you're doing it, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
So why can't you give me a replay that shows me the other dude's button inputs and says like overhead, boom, whatever, and then you could be like, oh, okay, I get it. I can't block an overhead. Like, I mean, you could do all of that
yes,
stuff, and they just don't do that, and I don't know why. Because part of a fighting game, the only thing that interests me about a fighting game is it's so from A to B, you can see your growth, right? If you know what you're doing and you understand the fundamentals, you can fight somebody multiple times, see what they do, and understand, oh,
Right.
these are the changes I need to make. He likes this mix up. He likes this, combo, whatever. How do I counter it? What is within my toolkit to battle this person? And you can progressively get better in a one-on-one setting where you're constantly fighting somebody. But the way fighting games are made right now, it feels like the only way you can do that is if you have knowledge about what is happening so that you can dissect your own gameplay. I don't think that makes for a good game. If your gameplay is built on you understanding mix-ups and things like that, you have to give me a way to learn it.
Right.
yes. And it's like even in Guilty Gear, right? So in Melty Blood, I hate the replay system because you have to choose every game to save it to the replay system. Guilty Gear just automatically saves your replays, and it shows you every single input that you put in and every single input that your opponent put in.
That's
But like
beautiful.
you said, you don't have. There are certain things that like, okay, there's like a character, Milia. Her entire thing is she knocks you down, and then as you're waking up, you kind of have to guess if she's going to go to your left, your right, or if she's going to do an overhead or a low. But like, if you don't know what's happening, it just looks like she's twerking on you and she's doing a bunch of bullshit, and you don't know how to block it, and you can't hit a button because she's hitting you as you wake up. So I think that there's like I guess what I'm trying to say is everything I learned about fighting games, I learned outside of fighting games, like outside of the game. And the game needs to do a way better job of teaching you. So I don't like my friend doesn't have to tell me, oh yeah, Millie is doing a left right mix up here. You have to guess if she's gonna jump and air dash to your left or jump and air dash to your right. But I don't know. There's gotta be a better way of just making the games easier because they're not that hard. That's what I always tell people. It's not that hard, but you have
Doesn't
to know what's happening.
doesn't Guilty Gear have like a way where you can see the hitboxes of the abilities?
Yes. So they have Guilty Gear actually does a really good job. So there's a hitbox viewer. There's every like if you go through the move list of a character, you
Mhm.
can see the move, the inputs to do the move, and then on the top right there's a little video playing of what the move looks like, so you know you did it right.
Okay,
There are a lot of things that that game does really well, but there are just
I like
little
that.
parts of like showing you, I guess, and even in the tutorials, there's a lot of like fundamental learning that you can do. But there
Mhm.
are just little parts like if you watch your replays, it should kind of figure out and tell you what happened. But sometimes things are ambiguous. Like
Right.
I can't the game can't explain to you certain there are just certain like mix ups and things like that that I assume it would be hard for the game to recognize because some of these things weren't intended in the game. Because that's always what fighting game players are going to do. They're going to find the most broken shit that you didn't think about as a game designer and exploit that.
I think
But
Yeah.
Strive might be the base for the future of other games. But the problem is, again,
I hope
it
so.
comes down to the developers and the companies that are making these games to follow suit. You know, if they just want to do their own thing and do whatever the fuck they want, like it just I don't know. It also depends like on how you move the masses at the end of the day, because you can do a lot for the people, and you can just give them a shit game, and they're probably at the end of it, like they're still supporting you. Like as soon as you buy the game, like you've already made the quota. That's the same issue that happened
Yeah.
with like New World, well, many other games. Like you can
Mhm.
promise all these things, and boom, oh no, it's trash. Oh well, you gave me the money. It is what it is. And yeah, if you played it for a certain amount of time, Steam will give you the refund. So hey, I win. It sucks,
Yeah, they got their money. But
dude. I got
shoot,
a
you're
hot
trying
take.
to sell me DLC, bro. Like,
Mhm.
give me a good game and I'll buy your DLC. I bought the
For
whole
sure.
Strive Seasons DLC because like I know the game's good. And they
Right.
took their time. The game was supposed to release in like 2019, but they took 2 extra years to make the game better.
Right.
But anyway, um, you guys have been really talking about Endwalker and Final 14 or Final Fantasy 14, my bad. So what
Mhm.
is it? Is this an event? Is this a whole new
Oh my
campaign? What's
god,
the deal?
You guys
Let's
got it.
go.
all about
Let's
that
go.
life. You kick it off,
Uh,
Sauce.
Okay, so Endwalker is the end of the ARR story, the storyline that started in ARR. So Final Fantasy 14 originally released with a pretty ass-tastic game that was just regular, right? It was so bad that they basically closed up shop and took the game, ripped it down to shreds, and built it back up. And when they brought it back, they started a new storyline called A Realm Reborn. And that was the first game that came out. So, that game was pretty successful, but it was a smaller community that really played it. In general, Final Fantasy had a smaller community at that point. That storyline went into Heavensward, which was the next expansion or the first expansion that came out. Amazing expansion, like a bunch of people's favorites. It's not my favorite personally, but I get that it's really good. Uh,
So
the
good.
the next one that came out was Stormblood, which is personally, strangely, my favorite expansion, mostly because it's like an
Really?
anime. Yeah, I like it because it's like an anime. It's the most
Okay.
anime feeling one, and that's what I wanted at the time. So it felt perfect. Like I also don't like dragons. I don't know how to stress this enough. I hate dragons, dude. I'm so tired, and especially when you have to fight the same dragon over and over again. But I'm not going to say anything else. So going to the Stormblood, great, whatever. And then you have the expansion we're currently on right now, which is Shadowbringers. This is probably the most successful expansion that they put out. I would say it has the best storyline, the most moving and impactful storyline,
Yeah.
as well as
Agreed.
probably the best use of mechanics.
Yeah.
There's some things that changed. They made some classes a little bit easier to play, which I think is a good thing. It brought more people into the game, and recently it had a huge explosion because of frankly, how bad WoW went. WoW's most recent expansion was so bad that so many people left the game to come and play Final Fantasy, and that's part of why their user base has exploded.
Hell yeah.
A lot of big streamers have come and content creators and things like that. And it's the perfect time because this is like, I mean, the game is great. So
Mhm.
many things it does right, and there's only a couple things that it does wrong, but it has like all the little traits of old MMOs that people are desperate for, long grinds and all this stuff that you can do, but you don't have to do. You're not forced into doing to play the content and enjoy yourself. And then they also have stuff for casuals and like the ease of use, the ease of party finder, and beyond that, duty roulettes and things like
Mhm.
that. Like it's just so easy to pick up. You could come and play roulettes every day and be fine if you wanted to. They don't have a bunch of weeklies that you have to do or you'll feel like you get behind or anything. Like the guy who is the mastermind behind all of this, Yoshi P, has even said multiple times in multiple interviews, I didn't make my game so that you only play this game. Like I want you to go play other things. If you like WoW, go play WoW and go raid in WoW and do that. And then you can come back. You don't have to stay sub forever. And you can feel it in playing their game. And it makes their game honestly more addicting because of it. Because they don't
Exactly.
force you to do those things, right?
Yeah.
So Endwalker is the end of this long running storyline. It's not the end of the game. They've already said that it's not going to be over, but the main storyline that they've been telling, this war against the Asians and all this stuff, is going to finally come to its climax in this expansion called Endwalker, where we're going to the frickin' moon, which is so sick and I'm
Oh my
so ready
God.
for.
And we get to see the moon whale too, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Wait. Hold on. You're going to the moon?
Yeah, dude, we're
Yeah.
going to the moon. Like the
Dogecoin,
stonks,
baby.
baby. We going to the moon.
That
Yup.
is crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be insane. I mean, there's probably more going on. I mean, we've been to different worlds by now, or different sources, essentially. So it's a Final Fantasy game. It's crazy. All of
Mhm.
their games have some point where they go kind of haywire, and this is that like haywire expansion for us. But it looks really good. The zones that we've seen so far look great. A lot of the class changes have come out, so you can see their new animations for the higher levels, as well as like some of the tuning that they've done to the classes. The relic gears have come out recently, just the pictures of them. We don't know the stats or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gearing up for it. It hits on the 19th of November, so it's for people who have already pre-ordered it, and then the actual release is the 22nd, I believe.
Hmm.
Oh boy.
Something like that.
Yeah, so it's gonna be crazy, especially with just how big the player base is right now. I mean, it's at an all-time high, and it's only gonna get bigger when Endwalker hits, because all the people who haven't been playing or have been waiting for the expansion are also gonna come back. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be trouble for login queues and things like that. But Final Fantasy has done an incredible job of their storyline. Their cutscenes involve your character, so you're in it. You feel like the main character of the story, which is something that WoW tried to do way later on, but it doesn't. It's not the same. Like the scale is so wrong for WoW in comparison to like the way Final Fantasy has given you a growing sense of strength. Like one thing that always, I'm not here to just like shit on it, because I played a lot of WoW. I've put way more hours in WoW than I ever have in Final Fantasy 14. But one of the things that is wrong about the scale when you compare the two games is like, in WoW I'm the hero, right? I beat a world ender. Like I beat a dude who literally jabbed his sword into Azeroth, which is like the world in World of Warcraft, and like fucking tore a giant scar with his sword. Like an incredible scale of domination. And then it's like, oh yeah, but there's this other dude who like is gonna unmake existence. It feels like I fought Thanos and now I have to fight not quite Thanos, but maybe Thanos again. But I already fought Thanos like 3 other times in 3 other expansions. So what am I doing?
Right.
What is happening, right? Whereas Endwalker has been pretty steady in like your power growth. Like you might be fighting a huge threat, but it's not a threat that makes you feel like the whole world will end until the most recent expansion, where you start talking about a threat that's threatening the entire world, but it's not even your world, right? So it's like, they give you the ability to like keep in the story and feel like not only am I important, but they also talk about how I have a band of adventurers, and it's pretty well assumed. You see them in the cutscenes for those instances and things like that. You're not by yourself in this. You may be the warrior of light, but you can't do it by yourself. So it feels good. It feels like the power scale has built progressively to this point, and I'm really curious to see what Endwalker is going to give us, because they really went for it in Shadowbringers, and there is some stuff in Shadowbringers that hurt to get through. And they've done a good job of like making very moving scenes and like stuff like that. But whew, Shadowbringer.
Yeah, completely agree with you.
So I don't know. I'm super excited. We're getting new classes in this one as well. They're introducing a melee DPS called the Reaper
Hell
and
yeah.
a new healing class called the Sage. So that'll be really exciting. And I don't know. It looks great. I mean, I'm beyond hype for the expansion right now. I'm literally forcing myself to take a break from Final Fantasy so that I can play the expansion like a psychopath.
Oh yeah.
As soon as I finish that game and boost through it, skip all the story like I usually do, yeah, it's gonna be the best experience of my life.
God.
Let's go.
Sauce, what new class you wanted to play most? Sage or Reaper?
I don't play healing classes, but Sage
Okay.
looks really interesting because it's not a traditional healing class. Since
Right.
it's like a DPS healer, I'll probably give it a shot. People compared it to like the Dancer of healing, and Dancer is so fun to play. So I'll probably play a little bit of Sage, but I'm excited to get my hands on Reaper. To be
Oh
honest.
hell yeah.
It's gonna be
Like,
better than Scholar.
That's where I'm at.
Scholar looks like it's about to go and get put out behind the shed in
Yeah,
Endwalker,
dog.
dude. It's bad. It's
God.
probably the worst class in the game at this point, dude, which is really sad.
I forgot what I think I was doing a white mage for healing when I was trying to level that up.
Yeah, white mage is really strong. I mean, white mage will always be the healer, right? If you are in a bad spot or you need to learn healing, white mage will never send you down the bad path. Every other healer kind of just is white mage. Not really, not that simple, but white mage is like, we're here to heal, and they heal. They have just a great kit for healing and learning how to heal. And honestly, in general, learning any class in Final Fantasy is a lot easier. The community in general is better. I'm not going to be one of those guys that says like, oh, it's perfect and there's no toxicity or anything like that. Like, there are toxic people who play, and you will run into a couple of them, but it's not like WoW. People don't just like quit out of an instance if you wipe once or anything like that. You're not going to get flamed for the most part when you're playing. Most of those people get weeded out pretty easily, so it's a great experience. I've had a bunch of rookie healers because I play tank now, and honestly, you just slow down. When when I'm playing tank, if I'm not pulling wall to wall, it's because I think my healer's a sprout and he's not ready for it. But if you will get runs where it's just two guys who just want to pull the entire instance, and that's kind of what it is. And you can ask them to slow down, and most of the time they will.
All it needs is better PvP, and that's it.
Yeah, and the problem is that they're never going to put PvP in the focus. So I think it's weird because I almost am happy about it, since it means that their dev team isn't split, and it allows them to tune their encounters, and boss fights and things like that so interestingly. Like, they have so many interesting mechanics I've never seen before, so many like weird little things you have to know. It's hard to just carry somebody through the content. I don't know, I like it. I'm okay with the fact that the PvP is bad, because it's not really what their game is built for. They didn't build it for PvP. It was
I agree with
definitely an afterthought. Same with in 11 was the same. PvP was such an afterthought. There's not, I mean, it doesn't even make sense for PvP to exist in Final Fantasy, if we're honest. There's no conflict between the grand companies that would cause them to like kill each other on the battlefield,
Exactly.
Okay,
but so did you have something, Ellie?
No, I can't wait. I can't wait for it to drop.
Me too. So to kind of piggyback off of what he was saying, like, the story in 14 is amazing coming from a writer standpoint. You can tell in interviews, Yoshi P has basically said that he's had everything fleshed out for a while. Like, they've been working on this and they've had like the entire story arc out, and you can tell in the way that they're telling the story. Whereas from what I've never played WoW, but from what people tell me is in WoW, like, the story's kind of an afterthought. It's an MMO more than a story, whereas 14 is kind of like a story with MMO elements, if that makes sense. But the way that the story's told is it's completely fleshed out and has been for a while. And with Endwalker finishing this arc of the story, like, it's so exciting to see everything come to fruition, because I've been playing since A Realm Reborn launched. And what they did that was really cool is, from the original release of the game, when everything was garbage, when they shut down that original game, there's a piece of story that ties that to a Realm Reborn that you kind of see and get bits and pieces of through the story, which is really amazing. And it just seems like this community and this group of people and people who have been playing this game for such a long time are getting the rewards for this journey that we've all gone through. And that's really exciting. That's a way a game like this should feel, I think.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing, and I mean, I think even as an outsider, Simon, you can appreciate this. Like, they have a first part of the game that went so bad, and when they made a Realm Reborn, it's not just the name. Like the title of Realm Reborn is important. It is a Realm Reborn, right? Like they literally blew the world up essentially, and that like pieces, characters from that story moved into the current game. Your character, the person that you play, even has relevance going from Final Fantasy 14 to Final Fantasy 14 A Realm Reborn. It's incredible that he took this game that he wasn't a part of because Yoshi P came onto it at the end
Yeah.
and wrote this story that includes where they started, and he had a set amount of expansions that he wanted to do and an end. And it's incredible that they've managed to keep this game having this uniform story that makes sense, that progresses at a great pace for an MMO, which very clearly, that he built it under those constraints. He understood that he had to sell expansions, he understood he had to do all of these things, but you could tell in A Realm Reborn that there was a story he had to tell that had to bring people in. So it kind of starts and finishes in a way, but it has an opening for like the next expansion. You could tell that they were hedging their bets, believing that they'd get another expansion, and then after that it just flows so naturally, and you can tell when the next expansion is coming, and you can tell where they're going to stop you, and the patch content will take you to whatever links you to that next expansion. And there's no real part where it feels like these things aren't important. There were quests, there was a lot of bloat that they cut out where they were, just trying to get your levels up, because you have to go so far in A Realm Reborn. You're talking about going from level 1 to level 50, right? I mean, it's a lot of levels. So you have to have these extra quests to kind of allow people to build the experience and get to the max level. If you're not doing roulettes and things like that, that's how a good story in an MMO should work you from the, if they take you across a main story quest, I think it should take you from whatever the minimum level is to the maximum level without you having to do a bunch of auxiliary content to get there.
Yeah.
If that's the way you play the game. And they did a really good job of building all their quests that way, and to allow you to go through the story mode without having to like stop and do a bunch of roulettes or whatever to get to the next quest.
Oh, that's the worst part of any game. If I
Right.
feel like I have to do a bunch of extra stuff, like I've completed all my story portions, right?
Mhm.
And I have to then go and do some side quest just for the purpose of leveling up so I can continue on the story. It just completely breaks the story for me.
Yeah,
Right.
it
So
breaks
now I don't
your
feel like this
immersion,
guy.
right?
I feel like a fetch boy.
Right, exactly. Like
Yeah.
you're like this guy who's building to become a hero. You're learning all these things. Oh, but then you have to stop and deliver eggs to Miss Mary and fucking take care of like a tiny little town that nobody cares about. You don't have to do that, right? You can, they have those quests for you, those side quests, but you don't really have to do it. The experience is so fast, and the story is really built with enough bulk in the quest that you're just running along the main story quest with really no stopping until you're max level. And it's just really well done and really well told. Obviously Ellie skipped all the cutscenes, but the cutscenes are great.
Oh yeah, they are.
Acted for the most part. Obviously you have a bunch that aren't, because there's so much content, there's so much talking that if they voice acted everything, it would just be so bulky. I mean,
True.
just that part would be huge. It would be great if they did. I would prefer it, but it is what it is, but it's great. I mean, it's been incredible. So I'm so excited to see what the end is going to be like. I'm going to race through Endwalker, but I'm going to watch all the cutscenes. I'm going to read everything. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to live in that world for a little bit.
I'm gonna be way ahead of you, but that's cool.
Yeah. But I'm gonna know what's going on, and you won't know shit.
That is
Right?
true. That is true.
Oh,
He's just
man.
gonna be like,
When
"Hey,
you're
dude, I
right.
fought this guy. I don't know why." I'm like, "Oh, well, let me tell you about
Hey,
it."
man, that is what it is.
Yo, Ellie, what's the experience like playing like and not knowing the story? Is still you still love the game?
I'll be
So
honest. I say that I don't know about the story, but I actually do. Like peep every once in a while and I read and I know what's going on. But just
Mm.
cutscenes in general has to go ahead and skip. Like if I gotta wait a whole bunch of time just to go ahead and get through all this, like here's the issue when you're playing from scratch, right? In a game that like it's been going on for years, and you want to play catch up. I don't really have time to watch the story, man, because like this is me. I want to get as far as I can into the game where I can enjoy like the end game, try to get ahead as much as I can for whenever something new comes. I don't feel left out, you know? That's at least the way I play games that are like, for example, World of Warcraft was almost the same thing, right? I had to play catch up and just grind endless hours, skipping everything, obviously, until I got to a point where like, okay, I'm comfortable enough. So whenever the next expansion drops, I'll be with everybody at the same time.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, Shadowlands dropped. It was exactly that. I was right there. I did everything. I raided. It was amazing. Boring afterwards, obviously, of course, like most games are, but it was a great experience overall. And the same thing was with Shadowbringers, well, with Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, I mean that that's the thing, right? Especially in WoW, I think it built this culture of people skipping through things because the story is really not relevant. Um, People can say whatever they want about what expansion was the best, but all of those expansions are independent. That's the problem with WoW, right? It's like you have a start to finish story and then it's over, and almost nothing from the two stories makes any difference to what you're going into next, with the exception of like character growth for some characters, and even then they just put the character growth on its head. You just, it doesn't even make sense. The motivation for Sylvanas Windrunner right now, who gives a fuck? I don't care. Like, I'm sorry. I don't give a
Yeah,
shit
no.
about her. Her storyline sucks ass, and she only became the main person because everybody had a boner for her. I don't care about that. I want the story. Give me the story. Give me the reasoning. Why am I
Right.
doing this? Why do I give a fuck? And WoW does such a bad job of trying to make you give a fuck about that, that all it has is the gameplay. Now, WoW's gameplay is pretty good, especially for an MMO that old. I would say it's excellent. It plays great. The rating is really good. The content in a lot of ways is pretty good. There's some instances that are garbage, but they have so many of them. That's the way it's going to be. There's FF instances that are trash too. It's fine. Like there's just going to be a lot of instances, especially lower levels. I mean, you're just blitzing through it. None of the mechanics matter. I mean, it just is what it is, right?
Mhm.
But their raids, their like major encounters like that are good. They're fun, and the gameplay is really good. And you really play WoW for the gameplay. If that's why you're gonna go play that game, you're going for the gameplay. You're not going for the story, because you're gonna, if you pay attention to the story, you're gonna get mad because character motivation doesn't matter. Things happen in the story, and it's just like, yeah, okay, now get the fuck over it. No, like there's been repeated major city destruction from one faction to the other, and we're just kind of supposed to get over it when the next expansion comes out. It doesn't even make sense.
Right.
It's so weird. So I think you have a lot of people who are coming into Final Fantasy with that same logic, and that's why they blitz through the content, and that's fine because that game also has really great gameplay, and there's plenty of people who play it just for the gameplay, just for the encounters, just for the raids, the extremes, the ultimates, all of that stuff, and that's fine. But if you want it, there is an incredible story there that you can really dig your teeth into. And if you skip all the cutscenes and later on go, shit, man, I really wish I'd paid attention to the story, you can go to the end and watch every single cutscene. It's beautiful. Or you can go to
That's
New
hard.
Game Plus and play through the game again.
Yeah. To elaborate a little bit, I know that Sauce said that Heaven's Ward wasn't his favorite expansion. It's one of mine because I also main a Dragoon, and Dragons and Dragoons kind of play a big part in that one. And so it hits really close to home. But then also the latest expansion, uh, Shadowbringers, man, I cried. There were
Yeah.
tears.
Damn.
It hit.
There's some shit.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, my girlfriend is playing through it right now, and the amount of times she's messaged me and been like, "I hate this game. I'm tired of crying." I'm just like, "Yeah, keep keep at it. You're
Yep.
level 77. You got a long way to go.
Yep.
It's a lot more tears coming."
Yeah.
Oh man, no, that's awesome. I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited to hear what goes on in Walker. I'm excited to see you guys' characters. I always love in the Discord. You guys do the "Who am I" command, and the character shows up. That should always look super cool to me.
Yeah, seeing all the nasty shit Morgoth does on the side.
Yeah, seeing all that disgusting shit Morg does.
He's a wild boy. Yeah,
Jesus.
that's another thing. For people who are interested, like the other part of Final Fantasy that kind of makes it stand out is the housing system allows for people to build like a really incredible community that has nothing to do with combat. One, the crafting system in Final Fantasy is very huge. It's it's big. There's a lot of parts, a lot of classes. There's like 8 crafting classes, I think, something like that. And 3 gathering classes. I mean, there's a total part of the game you can play without combat. That's all that stuff. And then there's housing, which is tough right now. It's tough to get a house coming into the game. The way they do it right now is just a pain in the ass, and they're working on it for the next expansion. We'll see how that one plays out. But the housing is instanced by like a division, right? So you have one division that has like say 40 houses in it, and all of those houses you can go see. You can go check out other people's houses. You can go into houses that aren't locked. A lot of people, because of that, will create venues like nightclubs and bars or spas, and people will just go chill out in there and talk to each other. You'll have bards that actually play real fucking music, and they'll
Yeah.
just play music in the middle of stuff. There was a company, a grand company that did plays, like actual real full-fledged plays in like the bottom floor of their house, and they had set movement and stuff like that. I mean, people will do all of that crazy stuff, and you can just go and watch it, and it's nuts. I mean, it's crazy that there's such a big community in this game that doesn't even play the game. You know, maybe they play it in their off time, but you could go and play that game for the social aspect and be fulfilled as well, which
Yeah.
you don't get in WoW. There's no social aspect that causes you to do that. There's no guild housing. There's no bard playing. There's none of that. It's just like, I'm in the game to queue up or to farm mats and
Right.
do garbage junk, right? Whereas you have Final Fantasy that took the MMO part of an MMO and said, I want to do everything. I want you to have a social aspect. I want you to have a really good rating aspect. I want you to have a solo leveling experience, you know, with the storyline. I want you to have all of these pieces because an MMO should cater to every person. And it's such a weird, difficult balance to have. And I think that they've done a really incredible job at accomplishing that balance to the best of their ability. I don't know of another MMO that provides everybody with everything they could possibly want in a way that's at least satisfactory. It might not be
Yeah.
perfect for everybody, but it is very much so satisfactory. WoW leaves so much, and again, I love that game. I'm not just here to shit on WoW because I've put a lot of time into it. I played a lot of Shadowlands. I've played every expansion. I've bought them all. Like, I've put a lot of time into that game. But there's always that moment where you hit all your gear spikes or whatever. Or you're waiting for the next the next patch that has the next raid, and you're just like, well, what am I gonna do now? There's nothing to do. I'm not gonna go. I guess I'm gonna go PvP. Cool. And their PvP is way better than Final Fantasy. So I guess maybe that's satisfactory for some people. But I like that I can log into the game and just go hang out with my friends at some dumb venue and listen to somebody play a bunch of 90s hits music on the freaking Bard system and just be like, man, this is dope. I'm just chilling with my boys and like going through glams and being silly and fucking having a great time without being forced into doing content or feeling like I'm getting behind if I'm not doing content. Shadowlands is really bad about that. You have all these dailies. You need this artifact power, not artifact power, but you need this power system that they took out of the game now because they realized it was forcing people to log in and do all these dailies. I mean, it's so nice that they focused on the social aspect as much as they focused on the gameplay. And again, the only thing that's lackluster is PvP.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a much more well-rounded experience, which in turn makes the world more immersive
Yeah.
from what you're
Yeah.
describing to me.
Yep. Exactly. And now they're talking about in the next expansion, like adding a private island for you to do shit on.
Oh my
like
god,
that.
yeah, private
I like
farming.
that.
And
I
it's
like that.
it's partly, it seems like, to make up for the situation with housing, because you know, if you're just out of luck right now, if you came into the game late, the chances of you getting a house that's not an apartment, which is a single room, it's very small, is very slim. It's almost impossible on some servers to get a house, right? Especially Aether, which was the packed out server because a bunch of streamers went to Aether.
Yeah.
So it was like it's borderline impossible to get a house. I've been playing for years now and I still don't have a house. I have an apartment, but I don't have a house. My FC has a house or whatever, but it's super hard. They're going to a lotto system coming into Endwalker that should hopefully make the new housing district, which is Ishgard, which they've shown us since Heavensward what it looks like. It's in that area. They're finally releasing it for us so we can actually get the houses there. And it'll be a lotto, so you have a better chance at getting a house. But it seems like the private island is also to allow the people who wanted to garden and do all that stuff, because you can't garden if you don't have a house. All the people who wanted to do that stuff now have an option, and it'll be this weird little island that you get that's instant, so it's different from the rest of the stuff. It's more in line with like garrisons from World of Warcraft, Ellie, for example.
Yep. You
But
make
it
your own
has
bread from that.
right, but it looks like it's gonna have. It looks like it's going to be like a farming simulator in the middle of your game that you
Oh,
can
that's
go
my shit.
another way that you can go chill out. So I told somebody that once that shit launches, I'm going to put myself on busy or whatever so I can't get tells, and I'm just going to live in there for like days, dude.
Right? Exactly.
No, for real. That's gonna be me too, because I actually like that shit. I've been like, I have all these resources, right, that I can't use because I have nowhere to put them. And when I was
Yeah,
with the company, I was like in one of the well, it's not guilds, it's companies, right? When I was
yeah.
with them, I was like, damn, man, I got this right here, but I don't know what I should do. Should I just go ahead and ask if I can plant it? I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just whatever. I'm just gonna keep it with me. And that's what I did. So like, now being able to have like my own private area where I can do my own stuff and all that, I think is way, way, way better. Like it gives people access to what others are enjoying, because it's like me, for me, like I said before, for example, like I came very late into the game. I don't have access to that, like all that other stuff that would basically give me a small, guild boost. And shit, I just lost my train of thought. And will put me like at least on par with all these people that have all these massive amounts of like guild. Like the name of the money in the game is skill. So I have this massive amount of money, so I can actually participate in the market and all other things. So yeah, I really can't wait for that. I'm dying for the damn thing to come out already.
So
Yeah, it
close.
sounds super dope. It's what, a month from now ish?
Yeah.
What,
Essentially 19
3
days.
weeks? Yeah.
Oh
Oh shit,
Basically
it's
shit.
31,
19
right?
days.
Yeah.
Oh,
So three
good.
weeks.
November
So yeah,
19th.
when we do another gaming podcast, well, it'll probably be like 2 from now, I guess. We'll
Mhm.
talk about how you guys feel about Endwalker and get into that as well. The
Yeah.
last thing I want to go through really quickly is a game that's on you guys' backlog that you haven't played but you want to play, and then a game that you're looking forward to. And I will start. A game that's on my backlog, or kind of on my backlog, that I want to play through is Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm like through the tutorial and the first mission, and I've had the game since February. So I think tonight I'm going to sit down and play through the game a little bit more. And
So
then the
good.
game I'm looking forward to is King of Fighters 15,
Oh.
which is coming out soon. And there's going to be a beta coming out this month, I think. So I'm super excited to try that out. I've never played a KOF game before, but it looks super cool. And the characters are always really cool in that game. And yeah, it's just a type of fighting game I've never really tried to play before.
I guess I'll go next.
Yeah.
One that's on my backlog that I really kind of need to play that I haven't gone through yet is Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, that's on
I
mine
have
too,
that
dude. I
too.
gotta play that.
Oh my god.
Right. That's on my backlog, and I hear it's so good. I just haven't gotten to it yet. I've been too busy. And then one that I'm looking forward to trying. I don't know if it's gotten a lot of hype yet. I've posted a couple of videos. Is that new Wukong game? The Dark
I've seen
Story.
it.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
Oh yeah,
It
that looks
looks
sick.
pretty nice.
it looks kind of like Sekiro, based on Wukong from Journey to the East or Journey to the West or whatever.
Mhm.
And no, I'm ready. I'm excited for that one.
How about you, Sauce?
On my backlog, it sucks because my backlog's huge and there's so many games I want to play. I have Horizon on that backlog. I have Immortals Phoenix Rising on that backlog. There's just so many things. But right now, last night I started playing Alien Isolation. So that's the one I'm going to go with because I gotta play that game. And it is So stressful. I don't really get like spooked out by movies or anything, but video games, when I'm like in it and I have to control it, that shit spooks me, bro. So Alien Isolation has been trouble to get through, but that's the one since I'm in the middle of playing it. The other one I would say that I really want to play and I haven't yet would be Beyond Detroit, or Detroit Being Human, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to play that because I've heard really good things about it, and it's just sitting on my backlog. The game I'm the most excited for is that's coming that I really want to play is Elden Ring. I really, really want to get my hands on that.
Yes.
That comes in February of next year, so that's that. Hopefully, I'll have enough time with Endwalker by then that I don't mind taking like a 3-month break to play Elden Ring.
Oh yeah, Elden Ring will be fire.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be very honest with you guys when it comes to backlog. I've almost like I'm waiting. Like that's the only thing I can say out of all the games that I've played.
Oh, you cleared your shit.
Yeah, I cleared my shit. I'm just waiting for new stuff to come out. But there's actually one game that probably can make the exception. That's already out recently. It's Age of Empires 4. I'm probably just gonna run through it just for a little bit and stuff. And to be honest, like I'm like between New World and Baby Age of Empires now and whatever other game I like, League of Legends and stuff. Like I'm just waiting for Halo to drop, man. That's it. It's Halo and Endwalker. And the problem is, I don't know what I want to finish Endwalker as fast as I can, just so I can go ahead and start with Halo like fresh. Like that's another day that I'm not gonna go to work. I'm not even gonna call out or nothing. I'm just not gonna go. You know. So like it is what it is. Like that's all I want. It's Halo and Endwalker. That's all
I
I
will
got.
say real quick, especially on the Age of Empires thing. For I try to sell this to everybody because I think that so many people don't realize how good of a deal it is. If you guys have an Xbox or not, Xbox Ultimate, if you have a PC, is the Ultimate Game Pass is completely worth it. The catalog of games that they have is absolutely insane, including every single Age of Empires on PC. So you could just go play it right now. It's like $14 a month. They add new games every month. It's an incredible lineup of games right now. Like I'm looking at the front page. The Forgotten Cities on here, Outriders is on here, Riftbreaker, Destiny 2, Back for Blood is on here, which just came out not that long ago. Again, like I said, Age of Empires 4. I mean, it is the best deal in video games in my opinion. I don't think there's anything better. Forza Horizon 5 is about to be on it when that shit drops. I mean, it's Halo Infinite's on it. I mean, it's insane. It is an insane deal. If you guys have $14 a month and like to play a shit ton of video games, you need to grab that.
And if you don't got it, just look around. There's always a trial somewhere.
Yeah, that's
Facts.
true. Yeah.
Discord gave one out.
Yeah, I was gonna say
2
Discord.
months.
If you have Discord Prime or whatever it's called, you get 2 months.
Nitro.
Nitro, yeah. You get 2 months of freaking Game Pass Ultimate. Like, go get this shit and enjoy it. Play a bunch of games. Fucking uninstall it when you're done, dude. Who cares? Hades is on there. If you didn't play Hades, bro,
I gotta touch that.
so much.
I gotta play that.
I could talk for
Hades,
like
bro.
3 hours about Hades. Oh man,
I'm probably
game's
gonna
amazing.
play that shit again tonight. Like every once in a while, I'll just be sitting around and be like, I could go for a couple runs through Hades.
Yeah,
I'm dropping 15 on it, definitely.
Bro, yeah, it's right there on Game Pass too. So if you're nervous about it or you're not sure if you want to put the investment in, you can just go cop that shit right now, and it's so good, bro.
Yeah,
such a good deal. Best deal in gaming by far.
for sure. And on that note, I think we'll get out of here, guys. If you guys, I'm going to leave the Discord link in the description to this episode, and I'm going to also put it in all the normal OFC episodes. And if you guys ever have any suggestions for this podcast or the normal anime one, we will definitely look into those and try to answer as many as we can, as well as questions. Next gaming podcast, we are going to talk about a topic that we were going to talk about this podcast, but I think it needs an entire podcast. And that topic is what anime needs a game and what genre would it be? And I think all of us kind of have our own ideas. So I'm super excited for that. But yeah, that's it for this episode, guys. Have a good one.
Peace.
Peace.